How much easier would SEO be if you knew all the ranking factors of a search engine? Well, today you're going to get an inside look into one of the biggest search engines in the world. And no, it's not Google, but it's the fourth biggest search engine, Yandex. Yandex is a Russian search engine, and a former employee leaked top secret documents showing over 1,900 ranking factors. And in this video, I'll reveal this document and show you some really interesting findings that will likely help your SEO performance on Google as well. And don't worry, you don't need a comp sci degree or coding experience to understand what I'm about to show you. Also, I've created a secret document that translates and categorizes every linked ranking factor. So if you want access to geek out, then like this video right now. And once we get to 100 likes on this video, I'll drop a link in the comments for free, no opt-in required. So first, let's look at how Yandex compares to Google. Okay, so for the first search query, what we're gonna do is we're going to look at Yandex and we're gonna look at Google, and we're just gonna do a very basic top of the funnel search, an informational keyword, just search engine optimization. So obviously using the English language here versus the Russian language in Yandex, attempting to try to get an apples to apples comparison. But of course, these search engines are very different and the way that searches are conducted is very different. So take it with a grain of salt. The one-to-one rankings here are very different, but Wikipedia is the first result. And as you're gonna find out actually in the ranking factors, we're gonna find out that Wikipedia does get a boost in Yandex. So they actually do juice up Wikipedia's power a little bit more in their search results. So you'll see Wikipedia #1 here on Yandex, #3 on Google. So definitely some similar ranking factors here. Maybe not exact, but there are similar ranking factors. Now, the other thing to consider too is like when you're searching in Yandex, you're gonna predominantly get a lot of Russian results, just the .rutld. So naturally, these results are not gonna be the same because Yandex is gonna prioritize Russian-based results over US-based results. So that's why it's not an apples to apples comparison really in any way. So, we can look at this and try to deduce some things, but at the end of the day, it's always gonna prioritize these Russian results over US-based domains or TLDs. And we'll actually see that when we start to dig into the ranking factors here in a second, you'll see that they actually do give more weight to Russian domains or domains that are predominantly using the Russian language. So, which makes perfect sense. Why would they show English-based results in a Russian search engine? So, but the point is we can just see that there are some similarities here, but like if you were trying to rank in Yandex, you'd be better served building out a Russian-based website on a Russian-based TLD. So clearly that's the result. That would be much better for your performance. Okay, so now is the moment you've been waiting for. Let me take you to my computer and I'll show you the leaked Yandex ranking factors. Going down here, we have a whole set of results just for backlinks. You'll see a few things like we have Wikipedia. So right here, we're talking earlier about the Wikipedia boosting factors. So there is likely a boost just for Wikipedia, obviously as a result itself, but also if you get a link from Wikipedia to your site, it seems to give an additional boost in Yandex, right? We're talking about Yandex here, not Google, purely in the context of Yandex. Now, once again, Wikipedia is a good boost, and then there's some other good ones here, like this one I wanted to highlight, which is percentage of words in links. So basically, it's saying how much, like, is there an exact match anchor text being used in the link, okay? And there's clearly some sort of benefit to using keyword-rich anchor text in Yandex, okay? But this is, you gotta be careful because in any search engine, going too crazy with exact match anchor text is not likely going to be a good thing, okay? And so once again, another one here about anchor text, same thing. So in Google, keep in mind with anchor text, you gotta be really, really careful. Exact match anchor text does work in Google, believe me, but it's just, you have to be really careful with it. So, and I can talk about it in a future video, but click behavior, this is another interesting one. So we have a whole huge category just for click behavior. And so you can tell they're using all kinds of different measures of clicks. Sometimes it's clicks in the actual search results that they're measuring. Sometimes it's clicks when they're actually on the website. Sometimes it's clicks related to videos. So they're measuring a lot of click behavior. And that's probably just because it's pretty easy for them to measure click behavior relative to other types of behavior. So they're just looking at a variety of methods. So if you want to translate this to Google, we want people, when they click on the search results, to end up on our page, and we want them to stay there for a long time. We want them to click on our videos. We want them to click on various elements on the site. We want them to go through the website and ultimately just be on the website for an extended amount of time, engaging on the site. And it's very likely that Yandex and even Google can really see how engagement is measured on the site. One of those ways is probably through click behavior. So just think about that. If your people are bound, you can go to Google Analytics and see like what pages have high bounce rates. Okay, bounce rate on itself is probably not a ranking factor, but it's more about looking at bounce rate as a signal to determine that something is wrong with that page from a user experience perspective. Maybe the content isn't good, whatever it may be. But bounce rate is more just a signal to go and look at that page and see how you can improve it. It's not a ranking factor on its own. So, that's really what we can use. We can use data to our advantage. Another one here is looking at keywords and intent. All kinds of interesting things on this front. I would look into this if I were you, dig into this sheet, but there is some indication that based on the keyword intent that the results will be slightly different depending on where you're searching from. So this makes perfect sense. That's how it is in Google as well. If you're searching in St. Louis, you're going to get a different set of results than if you're searching in Alberta, Canada. Okay. Or if you're searching in New York City. It's to deliver more personalized and localized results. So Yandex seems to have those same type of ranking factors in here as well. And it proves that the search results are not, the same everywhere, right? So we have to keep that in mind when we're doing our optimization. That's definitely true in Google as well. Now, looking at language, once again, Russian type of language on a website is going to get a boost versus English or other languages if you're trying to rank in Yandex, right? This is in the context of Yandex. Going back here, looking at localization, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier with keyword intent. Once again, there's a lot of stuff related to localization, and that makes perfect sense, okay? Like here's the one I was talking about as far as language. Document language Russian. Okay, so if it has Russian language, it's probably going to get a boost in the Russian search results. So not super complicated here. And then we have all kinds of page level factors. All right, so we're talking about URL optimization. We're looking at dwell time. We're looking at even some user experience related things. And there's even actually some indication that just getting traffic to your site is actually a ranking factor in Yandex as well. So like if you pay for search ads on Yandex, there's a slight possibility that it actually benefits you in the organic results, which is kind of funny because I have a couple friends who have speculated that about Google for a long time. And so it may not be true in Google, but it is possibly a ranking factor here in Yandex. So very interesting. And then going down, lots of page level factors. One of the biggest ones is on the URL structure. You'll see if you kind of dig through this that there is proper URL structure is really important in Yandex, but it's also really important in Google. That is definitely a fact. And that just means you want to have a lot of keywords. You want to have your primary keyword in your URL. It's the simplest thing in the world. Just put whatever keyword you want to rank, put it in your URL structure, and that will benefit you in Yandex and will certainly benefit you in Google, like no doubt about it. So none of these things are super revolutionary because a lot of these things seem to be factors in Google as well, right? Relevant pages tend to perform better in Google. Websites with a lot of links tend to perform better in Google, and pages that satisfy the intent tend to perform better in Google. And on top of it, pages that have good user experience perform better in Google. So these things are not complicated. We want to have good user experience. We want to target keywords and satisfy the intent. We want to build out really good pages that elicit good user experience. And then we want to acquire links to prove that the site is high quality and trusted. Okay. Yandex is a very similar thing. And then user experience. There's a bunch of dwell time related user experience. Even actually whether a user has actually returned back to your website is also a variable as well. So like, let's say someone searches for Gotcha SEO and they end up on my site. And then here, according to this, like a week later, they end up on my site again, and they're probably tracking your IP address. that's going to be a positive user signal, which means it's probably going to be a positive result in the search results, okay? A positive ranking factor. So once again, this just goes back to creating good content, trying to build a brand, trying to be the best authority in your space. All of these things will happen naturally. You don't need to manipulate all of these factors. That's the beauty of it. Like all these factors, yeah, they're cool to look at and everything, but the truth is you don't need to worry about a lot of this stuff if you're just creating the best content that you can for every single keyword, and you're really trying to deliver a great user experience, and you're just trying to do things differently than your competitors. If you do that well and you've built a brand, people will come back. And when people come back, you're going to get all these positive user signals that likely Yandex is using and likely that Google is using. So that's the inside look into the Yandex ranking factors leak. Take it with a grain of salt because Yandex is not Google. While they may share some similar ranking factors, it's safe to assume that Google is likely using more complex mechanisms to determine rankings. So like this video and subscribe if you got value, and I'll see you in the next one.